Good afternoon, this is Transfer Talk. Mikel Arteta sends a clear message that Arsenal need to sign a striker, but it must be the right player. Also, good afternoon to you at home. We've also got Molly back with us, Kwaku's here, and Daniel as well. Let's get straight to it. Mikel Arteta responded to further scrutiny around the club's need to sign a striker today. Putting the questions to the Arsenal boss at his news conference was Jamie Weir. We can go live to him now. Jamie, what did he respond with today?
Yeah, David, well, today was interesting because, I mean, there has been so much noise surrounding Arsenal about this need to bring in a forward player this month. Arsenal need to sign a forward, Arsenal need a striker, Arsenal need an out-and-out number 9, given the lengthy injuries that they've got to Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Jesus as well. Up until today, I had certainly always been under the impression that Mikel Arteta was saying, look, we would obviously love to sign a striker, we would obviously really like to do that, but I don't think it's an absolute necessity. Today, however, the tone changed. It was very much a, look, we need to bring in a forward this month. The players need help. We are sort of down to the bare bones in that department. It was a very, very clear indication from Mikel Arteta, and a lot of Arsenal fans might say a very clear indication to the board that they need to get some business done. They are active. They have identified targets. There is work going on behind the scenes. As of yet, there's still nobody through the door. But this left me in no doubt at all as to what Mikel Arteta thought. Obviously, there's so much noise outside the club. Arsenal need to sign a forward, Arsenal need to sign a forward. And I know we sound like broken records when we ask you about that, but you clearly don't share that same sentiment. Do you think it is essential that you sign a forward, or would you be very happy with...
Sorry, I don't share what?
The same sentiment that you have to sign a forward this month? Or do you?
Have I ever said no to a striker?
No, but you don't feel it's a necessity, do you?
How do you say that?
You do feel it's a necessity?
I don't understand the question.
Okay. I'm saying so many people outside the club seem to think that Arsenal have to sign a forward this month.
So what is my opinion?
Yes.
That's what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay, my opinion is clear. We lost two very, very important players, Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Jesus. So we lack goals, we lack people, we lack options in the front line. It's clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you think it's essential that you have to bring forward then? Next?
If we can get the right player, that's what we are actively looking at it. Yeah. Any player, no. Someone that makes us better and has an impact in the team. It's clearly that for the period that we lost them, ideally, we need some help because we were very short already and we're even shorter. But the team still copes with that. But we have to do what is right for the club.
If the window were to close and you hadn't brought in a forward option?
That's an option because it doesn't depend on us. Yeah. It doesn't depend just on Arsenal or Mikel or our will. It depends on the market and many other factors.
And is there work going on at the moment to have you identified targets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, straight talking from Mikel Arteta there. We know, obviously, about their injury concerns. Is there a feeling of frustration, do you think, about a lack of business?
Yeah, I certainly picked up on that vibe, I would say, Dave, and he was asked a few more times about it as well. And what was very interesting was it saying the players themselves within the squad have commented to him that they're down to the bare bones, that they need some help at the moment, and also that he consults the players when it comes to prospective signings. He sort of asks players who might have played at a different club alongside a potential new signing, or internationally alongside a potential new signing, what sort of character that player is like, and that can be invaluable, having that sort of knowledge. So I thought that was really interesting to hear this morning. I also asked him about the possibility that they're slightly hamstrung, Arsenal, in that they can't do another domestic loan this month because they've already got Neto from Bournemouth and Raheem Sterling from Chelsea. I said, is it a possibility if a really good domestic loan presented itself that one of those guys might go back to their parent club? And he absolutely categorically ruled out that possibility. So I know there's been lots of talk about Matheus Cunha and whether he could come in on loan from Wolves. So ironically, Arsenal, of course, play tomorrow. Well, that is not an option at all. It would have to be a permanent deal, but that one has kind of gone quiet. Anyway, I think there is a sense of frustration. As I said, that is the clearest indication I've ever heard yet today that Mikel Arteta absolutely thinks that it is a necessity that Arsenal bring in a forward this month. The good news is at the back, they do have some players coming back as well. William Saliba and Maslow Skelly, who's been so impressive since he's come into the side, might play tomorrow, more realistically next week. Ben White also nearing a return as well. So that is good news. But up front, they are light and there's work going on.
OK, Jamie, thank you very much. I would agree actually with Jamie. It felt like the most open we've seen Mikel Arteta. Straight talking, straight to the point. Will Arsenal fans be happy to hear that today?
Oh, I think so, absolutely. You know, he has been rather non-committal previously when it comes to the need necessarily for a striker in this very window. I think it's a no-brainer they need a striker. They've needed one for many seasons, many transfer windows gone by. Whether or not they're going to get that striker, though, the man up front that they need, I'm still not convinced that's going to happen in this window, despite Mikel Arteta's comments. You know, he did mention there that he will still do what's right for the club. The club has to be important here. And I think, realistically, unless they're offloading players, it doesn't look like Arsenal are going to be able to bring in the man in this window. And who would they offload if they were to do that? From a loan perspective now, could they bring someone in? They can't. They would need to offload. I'm not sure that this window we're going to see a difference. That said, Mikel Arteta has made it clear now that a striker is needed, particularly with Bukayo Saka's absence, Gabriel Jesus too. If Declan Rice, Leandro Trossard, Martin Ødegaard, if they can provide more goals for Arsenal, perhaps it would lessen the need at this point of the season for the next part of the season. But as well, you know, the title race is still within reach, as are various cup competitions and the Champions League, of course. It shows some ambition, I think, from Mikel Arteta's perspective to say that they do need a striker. But again, I don't think it's enough just yet to be guaranteed as Arsenal fans that one will be coming in this window.
He's also mentioned that not just any player, it has to be the right player. And I think that's important because summer is where the big business gets done. And if Arsenal have got a long-term target when it comes to that number 9 that could put the ball in the back of the net, and that player might be available in the summer as opposed to January, where it's a little bit more difficult to get business done, then I don't think Arsenal would hamstring themselves in terms of not being able to bring that striker in the summer. So Mikel Arteta, it was important for him to outline that has to be the right player.
What type of player are we looking at here?
We're looking at, again, if you look at players that are linked to Arsenal, Sesko is a man that Arsenal looked at in the summer. He signed a new contract at Leipzig. And it seems like a lazy comparison, but if you look at the player profile, it compares favourably to Erling Haaland, same stature. But with that stature comes that blistering pace, that willingness to run in behind. And I think that would benefit a player like Martin Ødegaard, who is Arsenal's chief creator, hasn't necessarily contributed with goals this season, but a player that's willing to make those runs, because you do see the difference, right? If you look at the top teams in the league that have actually got strikers that put the ball in the back of the net, those strikers are making runs. Whether they're pacey or whether they're not, it's about the willingness to make that run consistently. And with Arsenal's creative force in the form of Martin Ødegaard, it's somebody that has the instincts of a striker. Kai Havertz has scored goals for Arsenal, but he hasn't got the instincts of a striker in terms of making that late run into the box, whether it's near post, far post. And so they need somebody who has that instinct and that nous in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net.
One thing I would just say quickly is Mikel Arteta also said, which I think was really interesting, is it's not just dependent on us. Of course, we would like to bring someone in if we can. But I think we're seeing that across the transfer window, especially in the Premier League at the moment. All the names we're talking about in these shows and even outside of that, there does seem to be a lull a bit in the transfer window. PSR is clearly still an issue in this window, and it just feels like everything could come to a head towards the end, with clubs needing to perhaps sell. I mean, there's players like Alexander Zinchenko who could potentially leave this window, which may free up a few more funds. But I think we're seeing that across the league, the likes of Chelsea, Manchester United, all names linked with departures, but all very aware of the PSR and limitations in this window.
I mean, Sesko was mentioned there by Kweku, but it doesn't look too likely that Sesko will be joining Arsenal, given his agent has gone on record and said actually they're really happy with his development at RB Leipzig. Doesn't look like he'll be going anywhere this season. So the hunt is still on for Arsenal, and as Dan rightly says, PSR, a massive problem for clubs at the moment when it comes to their spending caps.
Yeah, what it does mean is that we'll be bringing that in a few minutes. Welcome back to Transfer Talk. Welcome back to Transfer Talk. Before
How long are you expecting him to
Been really enchanted.